Greeting, Professor, and everyone.
Since 1990, Roma's indigenous growth theory has fundamentally reshaped our understanding of long-term economic development by showing that growth is driven by technology determined within the economy. This perspective also highlights a key challenge for developing countries. Without sufficient investment in research infrastructure and personnel, they risk falling into the so-called middle income trap. However, South Korea provides a powerful example of how to get out of this trap. Once among the poorest nations in the 1960s, Korea's economy grew to a GDP of $1.71 trillion by 2023, ranking the 13th in the world. So today, to explore why some countries achieve faster long-term growth than others, our group will compare South Korea and Spain, two countries with similar population sizes but very different development strategies.
Today, I'd like to briefly introduce South Korea, also known as the Republic of Korea. It's a country in East Asia with a population of about 52 million, living in a small area of just 100,000 square kilometers. It lacks natural resources and depends heavily on imports. Since the 2008 financial crisis, South Korea has achieved steady and resilient economic growth. Its GDP grew from 944 billion USD in 2009 to 1.82 trillion in 2021 and remained solid at 1.73 trillion in 2024, even during global shocks like COVID-19. The unemployment rate dropped to just 2.6% in 2024, far below the 1988 crisis peak, showing stronger crisis management. Although government debt rose to 46.8% of GDP due to pandemic support and aging cost, it remains relatively low and sustainable compared to other developed countries. South Korea also stands out globally in innovation, with R&D spending at 5.21% of GDP and over 9,400 researchers per million people. It ranks among the world's most research-intensive economies. Tech giants like Samsung and LG showcase the country's strength in science, supported by a highly educated population. South Korea's success is not based on natural resources or size, but on education, innovation, and sound academic policies. Its expenses shows how a country can achieve long-term growth and crisis resilience by investing in people, technology, and governance.
Hello, my name is FENGYI. I'd like to talk about Spain's long-run economic growth using the Roma model of endogenous growth. Spain is a large country in southwestern Europe. It's the fourth biggest in Europe with a population of about 48 million. It has a beautiful culture, long history, and rich natural resources, but in recent years, it has been growing more slowly than countries like South Korea, especially in innovation and technology. According to Roma's theory, long-term growth doesn't come from outside shocks or luck. Instead, it depends on what happens inside the country, like research, education, and creating new ideas, but Spain has some problems here. For example, Spain spends only 1.49% of its GDP on R&D, while Korea spends over 4.9%. Spain also has fewer researchers, and most research is done by public institutions. The private sector doesn't invest enough in innovation. Spain's education system is accessible, but students score lower than average in science and math. Unemployment is another issue. 12.8% overall and over 20% among young people. That means many skilled people can't find jobs. Also, the government debate is very high, about 112% of GDP, so it's harder to invest the future growth. And although GDP rebounded after COVID, long-term growth stays low. usually between 1.3% and 1.7% per year. So in short, Spain is missing the strong internal engines Roma talk about, like innovation, human capital, and stable investment, unlike South Korea.
From what we've discussed above, it is clear that South Korea has outpaced Spain in long-term economic growth, reflecting in its higher GDP and GDP growth rate, greater resilience, lower unemployment rate, and government debt. The key distinction between the two countries lies in their long-term strategies for knowledge and innovation. The Korean government has continuously placed a high priority on R&D. Korean companies like Samsung, SK, and LG have also played a key role in boosting productivity as well as turning Korea into a global export leader. By contrast, Spain has always depended more on conventional business and services, which has limited Spain's ability to grow steadily through innovation.
To conclude, the experience of South Korea and Spain gives strong support to Romer's theory of endogenous growth. It shows that long-term development isn't just about physical resources, but about continuous investment in innovation, education, and human capital. South Korea's rapid rise, despite its initial disadvantages, reflects the power of knowledge-driven growth. However, this success also carries social costs, such as long working hours, academic pressure, and a lower happiness index. Meanwhile, Spain enjoys a higher quality of life but faces challenges in innovation and structural unemployment. This reminds us that while Romer's model explains modern growth well, sustainable development must also focus on improving people's well-being, not just economic output.
So that's the end of our presentation, and these are references. Thank you for your attention.